is here, Second Lady Jeannie Sol Fetterman is here, and as you can see up here on the stage, we have several elected officials, not just your wonderful Grand Marshal, Councilor Donna Reed, but Council President Jeff Waltman is here, Councilor Marcia Goodman-Hintershitz is here, and Councilor Johanny Cepeda Freitas is also here. And also in the audience, ladies and gentlemen, Representative Manny Guzman. Hey! So I'd like to read a proclamation from Mayor Moran. Whereas the historical riot at Stonewall on June 28, 1969, and the subsequent first Pride March in New York City in June 1970 are considered a turning point for the LGBTQ plus liberation of the United States. And whereas our nation was founded on the principle of equal rights for all people, but the fulfillment of this promise has been long in coming for many individuals. And whereas the LGBTQ plus community has worked tirelessly for respect, equality, and their very right to exist, and the city will continue its commitment to make our city a more inclusive and welcoming place for years to come. And whereas the city of Reading strives to be a community where everyone is celebrated for our differences rather than being limited by what might divide us. As one of the cities with the most diverse populations in Pennsylvania, we stand together with the LGBTQ plus community of Reading and beyond as they take pride in who they are and whom they love. And whereas the progress towards acceptance and equality in recent years has been remarkable, work remains to achieve representation and respect for all. And whereas the City of Reading and I celebrate and honor its diverse LGBTQ plus community that includes people of all races, ethnicities, religions, and professions. Now therefore, I, Eddie Moran, Mayor of the City of Reading, on behalf of 95,112 residents, do hereby proclaim August 2021 as Pride Month. Thank you.
Thank you, Abe, and thank you everyone for being here today. We always like to showcase our beautiful city. As Abe had mentioned, this is one of the most diverse cities, not only in Pennsylvania, but in the country, and we take great pride in making this a welcome home for a lot of people. So it's our honor to have everyone here today. We welcome you not only today, but every day. And whether it's raining or it's sunny, be grateful for your breath. Each breath is a life side of that. And I always tell people we're all average and we're all great. So don't ever think less of yourself or anybody else for that matter. It's important that we all, value life. It's such a precious thing to enjoy each day. So we welcome you to our beautiful city. In beautiful Center Park, I wanted to mention Ernie Schlegel's here today. He's also the chairman of our redevelopment authority, former chairman of our water authority, and member of our library board. I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge Ernie. I'm getting ready to turn it over to Johanny. Johanny is one of our newer members on council, but don't let that fool you. She's one of our most vocal and very active members as well. This is her district. And she has a very diverse district going all the way onto the other side of Reading, stretching up here into the northwest neighborhood as well. So thank you everyone, and here's Johanna.
Good afternoon. Saludos. Where we at? Let's go. We're celebrating today. Let me feel your energy. Right? No rain is going to mess up our day. So first of all, I want to say thank you to our community for the multiple collaborations. Thank you for the organizers of this event. I can't believe it's been 15 years, so congratulations. And on behalf of City Council, I have a commendation to read to you and to hand to you all. Whereas, for more than 2 centuries, our nation has struggled to transform the ideals of liberty and equality from founding promise into lasting reality. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersexual, and asexual Americans and their allies have been hard at work on the next great chapter of history. And whereas LGBTQIA Pride Month is currently celebrated each year to honor the 1969 Stonewall riots in Manhattan, a tipping point for the gay liberation movement in the United States. During this celebration, we recognize the impact the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, and asexual individuals have had on history locally, nationally, and internationally. And whereas, as progress spreads across the nation, as justice is delivered, and as more of our fellow Americans are treated with dignity and respect, our nation becomes not only more accepting, but more equal. During Pride Month, we celebrate victories that have affirmed freedom and fairness, and we recommit ourselves to completing the work that remains. And whereas the Reading Pride celebration honors and celebrates the LGBTQIA community in Reading, Pennsylvania. The event, which began in 2006, battles gender and sexual diversity discrimination and works to educate the community through this family-friendly event, which features live music, a variety of vendors, food, and entertainment. Now, therefore, the Council of the City of Reading commends as follows. The City of Reading urges all citizens to recognize the many civic contributions of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, and asexual community in Reading and Berks County, and encourages all people to share in the pride of our city's diverse citizenry by participating in the Reading Pride celebration. Have fun, y'all. Don't let this rain stop you from enjoying your day and beyond. Thank you. And I'm going to pass it to Councilwoman Marcia.
Wow, this is incredible. I've been here for every one of these celebrations, and I want to thank you all for continuing to move forward. I apologize for my little pup, but we want to be all-inclusive, and so Vicky's joined me up on the podium. I just want to say that today's rain, this storm, sort of resembles what we have gone through to try to move forward. And in the city of Reading, we are very proud to be one of the first municipalities to enact legislation that protected the diversity. We also passed legislation for anti-conversion therapy. So we're trying to keep the lead. So you need to continue to tell us what we need to do as a city to support you and how we can continue to be as inclusive as possible, regardless of the storms, regardless of the challenges. Thank you.
All right, thank you everyone. Thank you so much for your support. It's extremely important to us. All right, next I want to introduce to you Dr. Ashley Grant. Dr. Ashley Grant is going to tell you exactly what she does because it's so long and I don't even know how to say it the right way. So I'm going to let her say it the right way, okay? Please give a big hand, Dr. Ashley Grant.
Dr. Ashley Grant. I am one of the only medical and surgical director at the Reading Tower Health Gender Affirming Center and Clinic. I came here about 2 years ago to, right before COVID, to start up the program that already existed to offer comprehensive gender affirming and LGBT care, ranging from hormone therapy to routine health services to preconceptual, prenatal counseling, and also gender affirming surgery. I'm the second fully fellowship trained gender affirming surgeon in the country. I trained at Fetterman just before it shut down and came to Reading and Tower Health to offer the services to this community. I'm very humbled and honored to have been named a co-grand marshal for this year. And I must say, coming to Reading has been a very similar experience because I grew up in an area far more rural than here. I came out at the age of 15, was told that, by family, by friends, by other people in the community that I could never get married, never have children, that people like us could not enjoy the same freedoms that our heterosexual and cis counterparts could enjoy. And over the years, I am so grateful that those changes have happened, but we are still far from over with being recognized as entirely people. And every single day, I am so humbled and so honored by treating the patients in clinic. I must tell you, I wanted to give up so many times. I'm sure it's not surprising. You all live in Berks County, you live in Reading. You know what the community and the climate here is like. It has been extraordinarily challenging, but I fought for you far more than you know in trying to keep this program here. In Philadelphia, it's easy. In any urban center, it is easy. It has been tremendously hard here, but every single day, every single surgery, every single patient that I see, you all are the reason why I will continue to fight for all of you and never give up this fight. So I must say thank you so much for being as strong as you are.
Hi everyone, I'm Matt Haslam, the Eastern Vice President of the Pennsylvania Equality Project. Our group is the largest grassroots LGBTQ rights organization in the state of Pennsylvania. We provide outreach to educational, governmental, and medical institutions. We run programs on our YouTube channel every week that promote and inform the LGBTQ+ community in Pennsylvania. We also work with legislators and voters to pass legislation. We hope to end discrimination against the LGBTQ community by passing the PA Fairness Act, HB 300 and SB 570, the Federal Equality Act, which is pending in the U.S. Senate, and more. We work with groups like Born Perfect and Human Rights Campaign to help end the use of conversion or ex-gay therapy on minors. We hope to mandate health insurance companies to provide the needed care for transgender individuals. Our group helps schools strengthen anti-bullying policies to help protect LGBTQ youth and provide school officials with the tools they need to combat bullying. We hope to diminish LGBTQ youth homelessness through the promotion of safe houses and scholarship opportunities. Every election, we push to keep Pennsylvania's elections open, fair, and accessible to all eligible voters. And year-round, we work to protect LGBTQ older adults from discrimination. We work to reduce LGBTQ youth suicide and end gay and trans panic defense laws in criminal trials, and work to add real or perceived sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, and disability to the list of protected classes in the Pennsylvania Ethnic Intimidation Hate Crime laws. To learn more about our amazing work or to get involved, you can go to paequality.com, email us at info@paequality.com, call us in Western Pennsylvania at 814-337-9732, or Eastern Pennsylvania at 570-294-4211, or join us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube for weekly shows. Thank you, and please remember, none are equal until all are equal.
We're from Delco. Pretty much we offer free STI and HIV services to anyone in the community or outside of the community. We offer free testing, case management, therapy, pretty much anything you need to take your sexual health as a priority.
For anyone online that's wondering about getting tested, when should they get tested?
As soon as possible, as soon as they want to get tested.
Whenever they want, whenever they change partners, whenever their sexual activity changes, we always recommend a full panel health screening, just so you know where you're starting from, a good baseline.
And how easy and affordable is it?
It's free. It's very affordable.
Absolutely free, no appointments needed. You can just walk in, 9 to 4.
And like, basically, with no appointments, stuff like that, how fast is the process?
It's pretty easy. We work with people whether they have insurance or not, whether they're undocumented or not. We can find a way to get the services that you need. So there just has to be a want and a will to get it, and we can do it.
And how involved is the process? I mean, is it a blood test? What kind of
Very involved. We also do rapid testing, which the results are 20 minutes. And then we do CDC testing, where we send specimens out to the CDC, Center for Disease Control, and that's a turnaround time of 3 to 5 business days.
Well, today with Reading, why are you guys here, and how important is LGBTQ testing specifically?
Well, we're here to show our support for the community and to also offer our services. We think representation is really important, so having a healthcare provider out here servicing the community that's most affected by it, it's just a pleasure to be here. So we just wanted to show our support and help out any way we can.
Well, thank you guys so much for what you do.
So I'm with the Children's Home of Reading. I'm particularly specializing in the recruitment of foster care. We do house on Center Avenue on 1010 to boys and girls 12 to 21, but we're also looking for families to foster, foster to adopt, and adopt. And we're also hiring as well, but we're always in need.
And today in Reading, I mean, with foster care and adoption services, how important is that to the LGBT community?
It is very important because you never know like what kids you're gonna meet, how you can help them, and the LGBTQ community is very welcoming, and we need people like that.
And if people want to get in contact with you, how do they do so?
They can reach me through my business card and also on the Chores website.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So we're the LGBT Center of Greater Reading. We're located on North 13th Street, and we offer programs and services. We have free counseling, free transportation to and from the center, free access to clothing, toiletries, food, you name it. We have a drop-in center Monday through Thursday, 10 to 5, where you can come in, utilize Wi-Fi, laptops, access any of the food or pantry items that we mentioned earlier. We have training and development. We have queer coordination, advocacy, legislative representation. We just opened up a satellite branch, and we have support services, so you can come in, and we have youth groups, we have groups for older adults, we have groups for parents who maybe don't understand their kids who just recently come out, or maybe your parents and you are yourselves LGBT, and we have networking events. We have Out in the Park in October. So we have a lot of things going on with the help of our partner organizations.
Now, the two things that I'm sort of sticking on here are the drop-in center.
Yeah.
So let's first talk about that. Like, with the drop-in center, especially for LGBTQ people, a lot of them are thrown out of their homes for being LGBT and coming out. Mm-hmm. Is it a situation where they can just give you a call and find their way to your organization?
Yep.
What kind of services can you offer them?
Right, absolutely. So we have the care coordination where we can access our database of partner organizations where we can help them get housed. They can come utilize the pantry. We have clothing vouchers. We can get them access to jobs, help them out with that coordination. We have a deal with Drexel so that we can do screenings, so access to health in that way.
What are the ways you can help parents understand their children?
Right, absolutely. And so it's hard for children themselves, and for parents, it's a transition for them too. So understanding the language, the culture of being LGBT, and just how to love people in general, just for being people, you know? So just education, that education piece is so big, especially for me. I'm the training and operations coordinator, so I do a lot of the trainings that take place in the organization and outside of the organization. And so just that educational piece is huge. People have no idea. It's been so taboo. There's been so much erasure in history, so it's really hard to understand something you don't know.
And for the parents, I mean, when they come to your group, can they, do you guys offer parenting nights where a lot of parents can meet up and talk to each other and network?
Yes, absolutely. And so we like to have a mixture of parents who identify as LGBT and parents whose kids have come out and they're struggling to understand them. So that education happens through peers, but also through facilitators who are able to give that education piece and help give that understanding in a way that's affirming and gentle, but still lays a punch like this is what you need to do so that you can help raise your kid in an affirming way and keep them alive.
And with your organization, how do people get in contact with you? And can someone that is just newly homeless just call you and get the help they need right away?
Yes, absolutely. So we've had a lot of people call for the care coordination to get those services that they need. You can call us. Absolutely free. Yes, all our services are free. You can give us a call. You can head up to our website.
Awesome, thank you.
You can also find us on social media. We're on Facebook and on Instagram.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you.
And for being here today.
I am from Job Corps, and what we do is we take young people from 16 to 24, whether they've finished their high school diploma or GED or not, and we take them to one of our sites, either in Pennsylvania or wherever, and our purpose is to not only get them to finish their high school education and have a GED or a diploma, but also to give them a trade so that they can go into their workforce prepared to actually do something. And we offer everything from carpentry and electricians to culinary arts. Some of our sites have like on the West Coast, they have seafaring, so they learn how to run a boat and work the mechanics of it. We have automotive. We have a full range of trades that students can get into, learn about, practice, and as long as they stay with our program, it could take them 8 months to 18 months to be able to actually finish the program. But by then, they have not only gotten their GED or high school equivalent, or the diploma, and a trade. So whatever it is that their interest is, that's what we do, is we make sure that they can actually go into the workforce prepared. We also, part of our job is to make sure we have people to do that with. So we work with companies throughout we're Pennsylvania Job Corps, but there's Job Corps all over the United States, and we try to work with companies that are right near where the student would be going home so that they can get right to work.
You know, a lot of LGBTQ youth especially are kicked out of their homes for being LGBTQ, and so with those kind of programs, I know a lot of people are looking for jobs, looking for a new trade. What kind of programs do you offer those kind of students?
We don't ask a person's preferences. We don't care. That's not the point. The point is we do everything we can to support them however they need to be supported. So if they are homeless, we're going to do our best to get them on site. Right now, because of COVID, we're doing all virtual. But that will change again. It changed over the summer and then went back. But our purpose is to make sure that they have a place to live and to thrive so that they are prepared. They also earn some money while they're on site by doing their work, which is kind of a neat bonus for them. So they come out with some change. We also help them find housing. We help them find employment. We help them find, if it's not exactly what they wanted, then we help them change directions, whatever it is that they need to support them. So our purpose is to serve all people. We don't care what your background is. We want to help you.
And with your programs right now, after COVID is sort of starting to end, hopefully.
Yeah.
We say hopefully. But with that, it's sort of like an employee's market, and people have a great opportunity right now to learn a new trade and get into something that they've always wanted to do.
Right.
Are you seeing a spike right now in a lot of people wanting a new career in your job force?
I am a admissions outreach and admissions counselor, and I'm getting 5 to 10 students a week just in the city of Reading. So it's pretty mind-boggling to me. Yeah, it's growing rather rapidly because I think, especially kids who, high school wasn't really for them, or they really felt very uncomfortable in high school. This gives them an opportunity to not only finish that basic need, because most employers want you to have at least the equivalency of your high school education, but also to be able to have something that you can say, I know how to do that. Self-esteem is really vital to
a lot of good paying jobs right now out there for people. What do you say to the high school students and stuff, especially, or middle school students that are pushed towards college or something? higher end where there's a lot of trades out there that...
Well, this is an opportunity that we offer. We ask a student from the very outset, what are your plans post graduating from our program? Are you planning to go into the military? Are you planning to go to college? Are you planning to go into your chosen trade, or you are undecided yet? And if they're still undecided, we're going to help them see if we can focus or channel what it is that they want to do. We do career assessments and things like that just to see what they like, what they're into, what they consider themselves good at doing. So we're really trying to give them all of the options. I will say that a lot of our students here in Reading are not college eligible. They're not doing well in school, so schools aren't looking at them, or they don't have a terrific home life, and so they're not able to go where they need to go. We're providing that as an opportunity. The spike is real.
And if people want to get in contact with you and get more information, how do they do so?
Any of this information gives us our contact information, so if you check out English and Spanish, but our various guides, we're looking to give people as much information as possible, letting them know that for the time being we are virtual, but we will be live and on site hopefully by September. Don't quote me. If we can, because because we're affiliated with the Pennsylvania Department of Labor, our focus is what their focus is to make sure people are safe. So if we have to, we're all masked on site, but if we can't be there right now, we will be as soon as we possibly can be cleared to do that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you.
And thanks for the interview.
My name is Jim Reese. I'm the Executive Director with Friend Incorporated Community Services, and we provide main food pantry in Northeast Berks County, along with the satellite pantry for Kutztown University students. In addition to that, we do case management for utility assistance, rent transition, unemployment transition, so case management kind of model to help a person in need, either direct assistance that we can provide or we get them to outside agencies. On site in our location up in Kutztown, outside of Kutztown, we have Safe Berks, Family Guidance Center, and also Maternal and Family Services, which handles WIC, food stamps, that sort of thing for the population that's up there. The need is there. Because it's a rural part of the state, the county, and hunger and assistance, poverty. It doesn't know any gender. It doesn't know any particular demographic. It certainly doesn't know township boundaries. So we're there to serve that need, and very happy to be here today helping spread the word.
Awesome. Now, specifically for LGBTQ people, a lot of people, unfortunately, when they come out, end up homeless as children. And for them, they might need definitely some food banks or some homeless shelters and stuff like that. What kind of services do you have specific for LGBT?
They're the same services. A human being is a human being, and despite what judgment has been laid upon them, whether it be by their family or their neighbors and community, we're there to help. And so we don't judge. We just help. And that certainly is that transition from homeless to temporary to something more permanent, along with support services that are there as part of the case management, part of what we do in dealing with a person in need.
And basically, if someone is thrown out of their home, is it something where they can call you and just show up to your location and get help?
Absolutely. We have a network, a voucher system, plus some temporary residential and commercial spaces where a person in need can get placement. Typically, there are times when that inventory runs low, but typically the day of, we can help a person make that transition into a safe place, and then get them hooked up with other agencies and other community resources that will allow them an opportunity to get back on their feet.
Awesome. And what if the person is from a little bit out of the area
not specifically in Reading, will you help them
We'll
as
get
well?
yes, we'll get them to the right spot. Our footprint is kind of that northeast Berks County, but we've never turned anybody away. We would never turn anybody away for food and a conversation and direction, and actually make phone calls on their behalf to make sure that they're getting set up and connected into the right support network.
And if people want to get in contact with you, more information, how do they do so?
You can call that number right there. That goes into our main switchboard. We're also at Friend Inc. INC, Friend Inc. one word .org.
And are all of your services free to?
They are. Yes, they are.
Awesome. Well, thank you for all you do, and thank you for the interview.
Appreciate it.
My name is Jerry Shearer. I am the Senior Associate Dean of Students at Kutztown University, and this is the LGBTQ Resource Center at Kutztown University.
Awesome. And with Kutztown University, a lot of people are going to college and they're fresh out of high school and not knowing if it's an affirming school.
Right.
What does Kutztown do specifically to market to that and to help with?
Well, to market to it, of course, we're at a Pride event here in Reading, where we went to the Lehigh Valley Pride event last week, of course. We're actually the major sponsor for the Pride Night at Reading Phillies coming up September 9th. We do special admissions events that are geared towards LGBTQ plus students. So those are some of the marketing things, but some of our resources at campus also include our center, which is a safe space on campus. People can come and use our resources, just hang out. We got students that's kind of becomes their second home. Things we've also done in recent years for name policies. We have Stonewall living learning community, where students can live together who are interested in LGBTQ history and advocacy. We have gender neutral bathrooms, and really just try to make the campus in itself as welcoming as possible.
Now, if a student is looking for schools right now, what are some ways that they can find out about LGBTQ organizations at colleges that they're planning on going to?
Okay, so definitely look on school websites. Some schools might have a center like we do, and we're very fortunate to have that. We've had that for almost 15 years now. But also look for student organizations. So look for on websites where it lists student organizations, and look for things like ours is called Allies. That's our name of our student group. But any kind of gay straight alliance, it might be other schools as well.
And with Kutztown University, I've been there many times. Okay. I'm a very big fan. With it, where exactly on campus is your group meeting?
Sure. Well, actually, exciting news. We just moved. So we were for a long time in the lower level of Old Main, and just this past summer, the Women's Center and the LGBTQ Resource Center moved under one roof. We're now in the Boxwood House. So we actually still have two separate centers in that house, two separate areas, but we also have shared space like a shared kitchen, a shared meeting space, shared outside space. It's actually new and exciting for our students. Boxwood House is right on Main Street, across from Old Main. So we have actually more visibility now. You'll see rainbow flags. You'll see our Women's Center sign right on Main Street.
And I know on campus, just to see a rainbow flag is affirming in and of itself, where years ago you couldn't see that.
Right.
How many kids do you have a part of the program?
It comes and goes, and there are some students that might come to the center, but not necessarily involved in the student group. So they're two separate things. A lot of people are involved with both. They're involved with Allies, and they also come to the center to hang out. But in Allies, every year, anywhere between probably 40 to 50 students come to our regular weekly meetings. They're Thursdays at 11 o'clock in the center. But then again, we also have other people that come for just things the center offers, programs or resource groups or support groups, things like that.
Awesome. And if people want to get in contact with you, where do they go to get that information on a website or phone call?
Yeah, the best thing, anyway, all roads lead to it, right? We had our on Kutztown University website, just type in LGBTQ Resource Center. It should pop up then as one of the sites. You can email us there, you can call us, email, whatever is easiest for folks.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for everything you do, and thanks for being here.
Thank you.
I'm here representing the Green Church, where I'm in leadership. I'm an intern pastor there, and also I'm representing C&D Inspirationals, which is the ministry of my wife, actually. So,
well, with LGBT, there's this whole dichotomy between church and the LGBT groups.
Exactly.
What kind of inspiration do you have and words for that?
Well, actually, that's really why we're here. More than all of this, we're here because we represent those that have been clobbered by churches and experienced all of that, and we just think it's a travesty that we want to stand here to know, as a seminary student myself right now, that I stand here to say that there's no reason to continue to be hurt, I'm not even in an open and affirming seminary actually, but I'm learning what the Word of God really says, and I go to a church that knows what the Word of God really says. We have a book here that my pastor actually wrote, that everyone should have a gay son, and, based upon her journey. And I really believe that that I just want people to know that God loves them and that He accepts them for who they are. Not only for who they are, not just accepts them like, oh, He accepts you. No, He loves you and He created you to be who you are. I just want them to know that they are open and they don't have to feel anymore like they are, that they have to hide or that they're a reject. And that we're here just to say we couldn't feel more blessed in our lives than we are right now. And I'm married to this woman. Best years of my life have spent when I was able to be able to say that I'm able to be with a person that I'm really in love with. And my son is around here somewhere, and he's transgender. And I could not be happier than the life that I'm living right now, just knowing that God loves me. He accepts me, He accepts my family, He accepts those in our church, and I can't get that message out to enough people, so that hopefully there will be fewer people who think that they have to end their lives because God doesn't love them, God rejects them.
That is a major problem. I'm really inspired by those words that you're living your best life right now, and there are a lot of youth especially that don't have accepting families, sadly, because of religion, a lot of times. And so for those kids who may be suicidal out there right now, we do have, sadly, a lot of kids that are watching that may be suicidal. So what kind of words do you have for that, especially?
I want them to know, first of all, that that we're not just saying this as a word of encouragement. We're also going around trying to teach churches that are not, and people who are not ones who have said, we're opening our hearts, we're opening our minds, and teaching them what the Word of God actually says and why there's been a misinterpretation of the Word. So we're actually doing something about it. We have a nationwide Bible study coming up soon that's being done by 3 pastors. It's called Unclobbered, and addressing exactly that, the passages that have been used to clobber the LGBT plus community. And I'm excited that we're doing something to educate those who have not known how to love a very lovable people, and to reduce the hate that's been in this world for so long, unnecessarily, and bring more love, like God has always had, back into this world. So I'm excited about that. And what I would say to people who have experienced this before is, don't be angry with those who have rejected them. They have just repeated a gospel of hate that they have learned and been taught for so long, and they just don't know. Unfortunately, it's been damaging to so many, but just to know that there are places out there that love them and know different.
My name is Heather Einzig. I'm the Family Resource Specialist for KidsPeace Foster Care here in Reading.
And my name is Emily Carl, and I manage the foster care office in Reading for KidsPeace.
Awesome. Can you tell me more about what your organization does?
Well, the organization overall has a lot of different programs. We have the Children's Psychiatric Hospital, we have inpatient, we have outpatient services, counseling services, but we're part of the foster care office, and what we do is we train and license individuals and families to provide temporary care to children from our communities.
And with the foster system, I know a lot of LGBT people really rely on that heavily. So can you speak a little more about what specifically you do for the LGBT, for that system?
I guess it's really nothing specific. We don't have any disqualifiers for any different kinds of families. We have single parents, we have same-sex couples, we have, all different kinds of families. People come to foster care for any number of reasons, and we welcome all of them.
Yeah, we just want families. Whatever shape, form they come in, that's what we want, because these kids need homes.
We participate in events like this so that we can contact different families and talk to people and let them know about our services and what is available to everybody.
And especially for LGBT youth, a lot of times they're kicked out of their homes. They need some foster care to help them get back on their feet, at least for a little time. What do you say to those kids that might need that help?
Just to kind of reach out to a positive mentor that they may have. KidsPeace also has Teen Central, which is an anonymous site that they can go to and get support online. And if there's a significant question they have, within a couple hours, a mental health therapist is calling them back to give them advice, direction, to kind of help them through whatever crisis they're going to. So that's teensentral, it's .com, teensentral.com. That's a resource for them. And then just really kind of reach out to whatever positive person or mentor you might have, a friend, to kind of get that help and kind of get things started to get that support you need.
And there's a lot of LGBT people that are suicidal and have depression throughout their lives. How can your organization help with that? I know you're part of the foster care side of it, but I also know a lot of people that have went to KidsPeace and gotten the help they need away from suicide and help them with that. Can you speak on that at all?
I think it's definitely it's part of our broader programming that's available at KidsPeace. We all work in coordination with each other, and a lot of time the children who are in the hospital setting or in the residential setting, they'll look to step down into our foster care programs. So we're all connected with one another, and we all utilize the same model of care and the resources and everything like that to be able to provide for the kids that are in need.
And are all of your services free of charge, or how?
Some of them are, it depends. Now, we usually have the psychiatric hospital and the outpatient. That's usually done through your insurance. Foster care is kind of funded through the county. But the kids themselves in the foster care program are getting everything for free. They're not having to pay anything. But if they have insurance, but that shouldn't be a barrier for them to get help or reach out to somebody to get help, because we're going to figure it out. We're going to help you figure it out.
And where do people go to get more information and get in contact with you?
Fostercare.com. Fostercare.com, you can use the location manager and be able to find the number for the resource closest to them. There's 9 foster care sites in Pennsylvania, so it would just be a matter of whatever is closest to you. And then we would get contacted and we'd be able to reach out in whatever contact information you've given.
Well, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for all you do.
Thank you very much.
My name is Jerry Shearer. I am part of All Souls Ecumenical Catholic Communion, located right here in Reading, Pennsylvania.
And for LGBT, a lot of people don't want to come to a church because they realize there's this struggle between LGBT and religion.
Sure.
What kind of words do you have for inspiration for that?
Well, we are welcoming to everyone, and not just welcoming, but affirming everyone who gets to be part of our leadership. It's not just come and you can sit in the congregation. At All Souls, we're part of the Ecumenical Catholic Communion, which was founded specifically for one of the tenets for people that were LGBTQ and hurt by this church and wanted to find healing and a space where they could be themselves and be fully part of the people of God. So our priest is gay and in a relationship. Our head bishop is. Our membership is about 80% LGBTQ, plus a lot of supporting folks. So, and we welcome everyone at the table. At God's table, the communion, everything is open to all people.
And with the church, I mean, do you have after-church programs that are like support networking groups?
We do in that we have things that are open to all the church, like we have fellowship hour after church usually. Right now during COVID we're not. We usually have monthly potlucks, a way for people to get together to fellowship on a Saturday night. And for that, sometimes we get people that don't normally come to Sunday Mass, but might come to the fellowship, and we're welcome to that. We do outreach into the community. We do meals over at Opportunity House. We work with Family Promise in hosting homeless families. So we have other ministries. We did do separate ministries sometimes as needed. If members decide they want to do a Bible study or a women's group or a men's group, that's something we could always do as well.
Now, for also a lot of couples that are out there, they might be looking for a church to get married in, and they're not really sure where to go. Is that something that you offer?
Yes, we've offered all the sacraments. So we've had people come in who wanted to have their children baptized. They may not have been members of our church, but they were believing folks and wanted an affirming church to have their children baptized in. So we do baptisms, we do weddings, and again, not just for our members, but for people who just are looking for that affirming congregation. So yes, all the sacraments, weddings and baptisms.
Awesome. And where are you located and how people get in contact with you?
Sure. So we are actually located directly across the street from here, actually. We actually meet inside of Calvary United Church of Christ, so they're kind of our host church. We have our Mass in their side chapel. We have an office in there as well. The best way to reach us is on our website, allsoulsecc.com. We also have a Facebook group for All Souls ECC.
My name is Preston Heldebridle. My pronouns are he, him, his.
Awesome. And what is your organization and what do you guys do?
So we are the Pennsylvania Youth Congress. We were formed 10 years ago as a statewide network of teens and 20-somethings coming together to advance policy and legislation at the local and statewide level that would be good for LGBT Pennsylvanians and defend against policies and legislation that would be bad for us.
Okay. And with your organization, can you explain specifically what pieces of legislation you're in?
Sure. So the number one thing we've been working towards for these past couple years is statewide non-discrimination. So adding sexual orientation and gender identity to Pennsylvania's non-discrimination statute so that LGBT Pennsylvanians are protected as they go about day-to-day life in public accommodations, housing, employment, all of that. So we're able to live with security and dignity.
So the PA Fairness Act and conversion therapy ban sort of thing?
Yeah, so actually just this past, I guess 2 years ago now, we put out our legislative agenda, which detailed 14 legislative priorities from updating the foster care regulations to updating statewide non-discrimination, obviously, and also advancing intersex rights. So pretty much our scope is very wide. Anything that will be beneficial for LGBT Pennsylvanians. We're always working with legislators.
Now, Youth Congress sounds to me like it's mostly youth that are involved in actually getting this done. If someone's out there and they're wondering, they're a kid and they're wondering, I feel powerless because I don't have a vote yet.
Right.
How did they go about getting involved, and what are the first steps there?
Yeah, so I got involved with the organization almost 5 years ago. As a high schooler, I was not 18 yet. I could not vote. And this was around the time when Title IX guidelines were rescinded to cover LGBT people. And so it was a very scary time. But as a statewide youth-led organization, we are youth-led. So we're not being provided services, we're going in and we're doing the work, and we're teaching other youth how to do the work. And so you can have a voice in town hall, at hearings in state government, and be able to affect change even if you're not old enough to vote.
Do you find that youth have more power because they are younger and they don't really have that power? It's more, I should listen to a kid as a legislator?
I think youth are very in tune with the issues that affect them, whereas adults may not face the same level of being truly affected by this issue for the rest of their lives. And so yes, we find that youth and their families, it is very effective meeting one-on-one with legislators, telling their story, just bringing to light why LGBT rights is such an important thing to fight for, even if adults in power might not fully understand that it's important to do the right thing.
Do you have a lot of families that are involved with their kids in this organization?
Yeah, we do. We have plenty of college students and high school students, but we also have their families are, sometimes very much involved, as well as younger youth whose families are also very much a part of that journey.
And if someone is out there and they wonder how to get involved, not just with Pennsylvania Youth Congress, but I assume there's ones for every state out there, how do they go about doing that?
So we actually are Pennsylvania specific, but if you want to get involved with the Pennsylvania Youth Congress, our website is paYouthCongress.org, and we have our PYC Advocates program for people who are really looking to get work done in their communities and are looking for support and mentorship and guidance. And then there are plenty of local organizations and national organizations you can also get involved with that are also doing great work.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
So I go by Bam Noriega, and my pronouns are they, them, theirs.
Thank you. We are all inclusive. We are virtual.
So MCCLV, Metropolitan Community Church of the Lehigh Valley, is an all-inclusive, all-accepting, come as you are. It is Christian denomination, but all denominations come in to celebrate, and worship God, and it's really just a community of beautiful people that follow God and look to share God's love with everyone.
Now, I know a lot of the LGBT and religious community, they do have their differences at times.
Yes.
With MCCC, can you explain exactly how you navigate that?
Well, the main message for everyone, regardless LGBT or not, is that God's love is for everyone. God loves everyone the same. It doesn't matter who you are, what you've done in your life. We're all equal in God's eyes, and we're all taken care of in God's eyes. So because we do follow that message, and that's the message that we have, it does communicate to the LGBT community that you're affirmed and welcomed in our community. And I really hate to use the words "our community" because it's everybody. It's right. It's everybody all together. We're one community of siblings of Christ.
Now, with your church, do you offer networking, like LGBT families, and learn more?
So with MCCLV in particular, we have a very strong online presence. So no matter where you're at, actually we're in the Lehigh Valley in Bethlehem, PA. So we're about an hour and a half from even here. But we're going all around because we do have multiple resources that are available, and you don't have to be local. So the starting point would be online. So you can worship online, you can do Bible study online, we have centering prayer online. As far as family resources, it's all unique and it all depends. So we have multiple ministries, this is one of them, right? So, because Pride isn't just about recruitment, it's about, preaching and having the ministry out there for everyone. So there's a ton of stuff. So wait, is there something in specific that you would be looking for?
For counseling, especially for a lot of our viewers are kids out there who need some spiritual guidance for counseling, especially with suicidal or that because of that dichotomy. Their families can feel like they're not welcome.
Yeah.
So is that something you offer with counseling?
It would be on an individual basis. So completely agree. A lot of churches, unfortunately, mainstream churches still to this day, even if they don't say straight out, no, that's bad, but they don't really say that's good and we'll marry you either. So I completely understand that. And it's really, there's something for everyone. And if we do have someone in youth that needs counseling, we do have the resources for that.
A lot of our youth also have undergone some form of conversion therapy. What sort of things and advice do you have for that?
That's tough. Because you don't want to deny the fact that was a horrible experience, that it was wrong and they should have never gone through that. But knowing that and you're coming through that and you're a survivor of that, each person is going to get through that in their own way, in their own path. So the fact that you're even considering a spiritual life still and a spiritual path after experiencing something like conversion therapy on its own is just a wonderful, wonderful thing. And again, it's individual. It's so hard to paint a broad brush with anybody, especially when it comes to a spiritual relationship. It's all unique. Everyone has their own relationship with God. So someone with that kind of experience in their background, they could just harboring so many different things. So I don't really want to say how you would really handle it, because it's really that person and their experience, their unique needs.
We talk about people who find religion in the LGBT community. The overwhelming majority are Christian in faith.
Mm-hmm.
And so, with that feeling, should you, especially with the Bible verses that are out there that get repeated all the time, do you think that there's still a way to find God even with those Bible verses that exist in the newer versions of some Bibles?
Well, here's the thing. You can go through all the verses in the Bible and translate it to whatever you want it to fit. The overall message is what you have to look at. So you can pull out a scripture here and a scripture there, and honestly, you can pull out a scripture that says one thing. I mean, Galatians will tell you that, we're all God's children, right? And we're all the same, neither slave nor, man or woman, that it doesn't matter. So it's what you nitpick. So what you'll have is denominations that will pick certain scriptures that fit their narrative. That's not how it works. The Bible is there, and it's repetitive stories of the same true message, which is God is love. That's all it comes down to. God is love. It's multiple displays of it. Centuries, right? This is centuries that people have been pulling out scripture to fit their needs, but in the end, plain and simple, God is love. So pull that out of the Bible.
And with your church specifically, how do people get in contact with you for more information?
So mcclv.org. Okay, Facebook. We stream worship every Sunday at 11:30. And again, we do have an extensive online presence. So all those other things are offered all throughout the week, like Tuesdays is Bible study, things like that. So mcclv.org, both on Facebook and just direct website.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Celine with Berks Stands Up.
And so what is your organization, where you're located?
We are located here in Berks County. We're a countywide organization.
And do you have a specific address that people go to, or is it both?
So we have an office that's at the Goggle Works. We actually got it right before the pandemic started, so we didn't really get to use it very much. So a lot of our stuff over the last year has been online, but in the past we have done a lot of in-person events, a lot of canvassing, door knocking, going and yelling at certain politicians when they don't actually do their jobs.
So what exactly do you advocate for?
So we advocate for actually a number of things. We are a progressive organization, so it's like economic justice, immigrant justice, mass liberation, housing for all, healthcare for all, pretty much anything that falls under the progressive gamut, basically. So our main focus right now, though, is we're building a housing campaign. We'll be soon moving into actually canvassing, so we can talk to residents about what their needs are as far as housing, and talk to tenants about what issues they have, what they're dealing with, and understand what they need us to work with them to advocate for.
And how do you advocate for these programs?
So there's a number of things you can do. Canvassing is one that's very important, that actually helps you develop relationships with your community and be more strongly tied together. So you can educate ourselves and educate them on information that they need to have, because let's be honest, finding information about our local governments is very difficult. So we exist to kind of bridge that of understanding these things, finding this information, and working with the public to help them advocate for themselves.
If someone is out there and they're wondering how do they get involved with advocating for these programs and really getting involved with their community here, especially in Berks County, how do they do so?
So they can become a member at berkstandsup.org. We are a membership-based organization. You can just sign up there, and it is dues paying. You could also just volunteer your time with us, because time is just as important and as valuable as money. Money is great. It helps us pay for literature, things like this, but we also need people that are going to come out, knock doors with us, that are going to be calling voters, getting them registered, helping them learn more about candidates that are on their side.
And
with your organization, there is a cost to it. If someone's youth out there, they're thinking about really getting involved with making their voice heard in the vote, how do they get out and vote?
How does like a youth person get out and vote? Or just get involved?
How do youth get involved?
Okay. So there's a lot of different things that they could be doing with us. They could be helping us do research on these issues, and they would be learning about the local laws, bylaws, codes, and things like that. If they're particularly good with like graphics, they could be getting involved helping make graphics, helping spread information through social media. That's a really good way to actually reach younger generations, and probably a way we're going to see things moving in the future, in my opinion. So they would be able to get involved that way, like volunteering their time with us, working with us on campaigns, learning the ins and outs of like what it looks like to build a campaign, so then they can go on in the future when they're a voter and able to vote to build their own campaigns and fight.
And when we walked up, you mentioned, are you registered to vote?
Yes.
If someone's not registered to vote out there, because we do have a lot of viewers that don't think LGBT voices can be heard out there, how do they do that? How easy is the process, and where do they go to?
So you can go to votes.pa. That is like a one-stop shop that has all the information of registering to vote, finding out where your voting polling location is, details about mail-in ballots and absentee ballots, which is like a super easy way to vote. You can also visit our local government if you like just honestly type in like register to vote. It'll bring up the PA page to do that. You can do it all online. You can also do it through a form, a paper, and send it through the mail. So there's an option for everybody that exists.
And why is it so important, especially for LGBT, to get out and vote? Like, why is our community more susceptible to our legislators telling us?
They're more susceptible because our voices are not as prominent. Like, it's clear that we talk about these things in our own spaces, but we are not holding seats. We're not holding seats locally, especially. And the local government is where things are happening that actually impact us. So to get out and vote and to get involved with your local government is going to allow you to make sure your voice is heard clearly, to speak directly to your public representative at those city council meetings, at those commissioner meetings, and talk to them about what you want and advocate. And you can learn more about your local government by just attending those things as well. At times it can feel discouraging, but in reality, it's a lot easier to get involved just at the local level than it is, say, at a federal level. And like the local level is where everything really starts. That's where we start pushing the things that we want to see happen at a larger federal level.
You said if they want to get involved in your organization, so Berks Stands Up.
Yes.
How else can they do a phone number? Can they just show up your location, or is it mostly?
They can reach us through Facebook. They can reach us through Instagram. We have our Facebook page. We have an Instagram page. We're also on Twitter, so they can message us on any of those locations. There is an address where we're Office 510 at Goggleworks, so they can write a letter to us that way as well. They can email us at berks.stands.up@gmail.com too.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
So I am a certified prevention specialist and tobacco treatment specialist with the Council on Chemical Abuse, and we are based here in Reading, Berks County, Pennsylvania. We are Berks County's local drug and alcohol agency, so we provide support and resources for anyone needing any kind of help around any sort of addiction.
Now, I know from some research that 1 in 3 LGBT people smoke and use tobacco products. Can you tell us more about that and more about like some of the risks here locally?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I was invited to attend Pride. I think this is my 3rd Pride now. I've been here a few years. Because this is a vape-free, smoke-free, tobacco-free event. And again, just getting the word out because unfortunately the tobacco industry targets specific groups of people, and one of those groups is LGBTQ individuals. And so we just want anyone, identifying as LGBTQ to know that there are free resources available, to not be tricked or fooled by the tobacco industry marketing, that again, there is help and support available for anyone who is looking to quit any kind of tobacco product.
I first want to go over why is it so important for a Pride like this one as Reading to not allow tobacco companies to advertise here and not allow people to smoke inside of their grounds? Why is that so important?
I just think it sets that norm. It sets the norm as far as that, that we care about your health, we care about your wellness, your well-being, we support you, we want what's best for you, and not using any kind of tobacco product is one of those things that allows us to be the best, healthiest versions of ourselves. However you identify, we don't think that smoking or any form of addictive tobacco or nicotine use is healthy for any individual. So we want, to just support that kind of norm that being smoke-free, being vape-free, being tobacco-free is the best way to be you. And we want to carry that message to all individuals.
Now, if someone is out there and they want to quit, I know it's not easy, but what is the first step they can take to do that?
Yeah, so I think most individuals who try to quit usually try to do it on their own and try to do it cold turkey, and that can be really hard without any kind of support. What we know about any kind of addiction treatment is the more support that an individual has, the more successful they will be. So we want to treat this addiction, as far as quitting tobacco, as any other addiction. So the first thing would be to call for help. And if you're local to Berks County, Reading, that would be me and my organization. I could get you hooked up with a free tobacco cessation class to provide you with not only education and support, but we also provide this stuff for free, which this is nicotine replacement therapy, so nicotine patches, nicotine lozenges, and nicotine gum. Studies have shown these are FDA approved to help individuals quit smoking and tobacco use of all forms. And research has shown that when individuals use these products in conjunction with some kind of education or behavior support group, that they are 3 times more likely to quit successfully. And the issue with these, even though they work really great, is they're really expensive. You can buy them over the counter, right, at any local drugstore, but they cost like $50, $60 a box. That's a lot of money up front, to pay for something. So when you can get it for free, now it becomes a better option to try to quit. And typically also individuals aren't always, properly instructed on how to use them. So we go over how to best use them to make sure that you get the full benefit of having them so that you can quit successfully.
Now, I noticed you're also here for vaping.
Yeah.
A lot of people think vaping is safer than smoking. Can you explain the mind trickery that is? And how dangerous is it?
Right. So vaping, unfortunately, is just another tactic that the tobacco industry uses to try to, again, entice young people. They're really targeting, those young individuals to think that vaping is hip and cool and trendy. But what we know is that the major tobacco companies of cigarettes are invested in vaping, right? They're buying out these vape companies, and so unfortunately, the cigarette industry very much has their hands in the vaping industry. So we don't see it as any different. Your lungs, again, are not meant to breathe in any kind of poisonous, toxic chemical. They're meant to just breathe in air and oxygen. There still is research and studies being done to know exactly what kind of health problems vaping can entail. So we just don't have those longitudinal studies yet, since it hasn't been around for a very long time. We're still learning more information about that. But from what we know so far, some of the health problems that we are seeing from vaping would suggest that it's absolutely not safe or healthy, and especially not for young individuals. A lot of times people want to think that vaping is, safer than cigarettes and it can be used to help you quit cigarettes. Unfortunately, there's still no evidence out there to suggest that. So we would suggest, again, not switching to vaping, that you can be completely tobacco and nicotine free, that there's better ways to do that. Again, joining a support group, getting some individualized counseling, using, again, FDA approved medication that's a short-term solution. So this is not addictive, and you wouldn't be on this for years and years and years. You would use it temporarily to eventually get yourself completely off the nicotine, because that would be the goal. So vaping, again, I always say, just don't be fooled. Don't be tricked by this industry. It's another addictive product that they just want your money, right? And once you get hooked, you keep buying it and buying it, buying it, buying it, and it costs thousands and thousands of dollars every year.
Now, with it, there's this stigma about support groups and stuff, like AA or something.
Yeah.
You mentioned it multiple times now, so I want to circle back to that.
Yeah.
Why is it so important to get that support group, and why is that stigma so hard to overcome?
I think, there's definitely a stigma there, and I think, it's just hard for people to, maybe admit or reach out that they need help, right? But we all need help in some way, shape, or form. And again, when you come together with a group of individuals that we're all, again, even if we have different backgrounds, different journeys, we're all trying to accomplish the same goal. So we can all relate to one another. And it's really powerful to be in a room of individuals that are trying to do the same thing, and somebody is telling, a story or something, and you're like, wow, like I can relate. Like I know what they've been through because I've experienced that too. So I just think that can be really powerful, really helpful to be in a group of individuals like, trying to quit smoking. Everyone together there kind of has your back, is supporting you through this process, and there's that accountability where I know, they're counting on me to show up every week. If I'm not there, they're going to be wondering where I am. So that really helps me just to be accountable to myself too, that like I set this goal and I'm committed to this goal, to show up and try to quit smoking. But I feel like also just this notion of, that it's okay, to struggle, and it's okay to, need some help. I think everyone assumes that, we can just quit smoking, right? And when we realize that it's not that easy, we maybe just give up, right? And we don't want that attitude, right? We want to say, wait a minute, even if it's not easy, even if I can't do it on my own, there are resources and help available that will help me be able to do it. So again, just not getting discouraged, not getting frustrated, knowing that it's okay, that there's lots of individuals out there that are also struggling with the same problem. It's very normal, and we're here to help.
Now, another thing I noticed about everyone here is the drug and alcohol.
Yeah.
It is really partnered here in the industry's marketing to us.
Yes.
With other drugs specifically, other than nicotine, and also, especially alcohol, because I know that's another big problem for our community. What's the first step in overcoming that? And how do you know that you have a problem?
So we look at, the reason why I have kind of all the information is we look at, tobacco and nicotine addiction is no different than any other drug of abuse. We want to treat it the same. And what we also know is a lot of people in possibly recovery or struggling with other addictions are also struggling with tobacco or nicotine. So we want to, again, kind of treat it all the same and encourage people to, again, get the help that they need for whatever addiction they might be experiencing. But how you would know a problem, again, unfortunately, I think person to person it would just depend. But what we really look for is kind of those consequences. When people are using any kind of substance, whether it's alcohol or whatever, and those bad things start to happen to them. And that can look different person to person. Maybe it's, I'm not able to wake up in the morning, or maybe it's, I'm not going to work anymore and kind of just doing my, responsibilities that I need to do as a human being. Maybe I'm not able to pay my bills because all my money is going towards, whatever it is that I'm using. There can be all those kind of red flags that we would look for, as far as, what maybe is going on isn't a healthy behavior. But not everyone is, becomes addicted either. But that's where, we really say, consequences, right? When bad things start to happen, those are really kind of the red flags that we want to take a look at this and say, what's going on here? And like I said, because not everyone's addicted, when bad things happen, say maybe I get a DUI, right? Because I drank too much and I drove my car, which is illegal, right? If I'm not addicted, I would be able to look at that event and say, I have to change, right? This can't happen anymore. And I'd be able to step back and say, all right, I'm going to do something so that doesn't happen anymore. Someone who's addicted, unfortunately, they don't have that control because unfortunately their brain, right? Addiction is a disease of the brain. Their brain has, been tricked into thinking, they need this drug to constantly feel better and constantly, get that reward that they're constantly seeking. So even though they can recognize this was a bad idea, this is a bad behavior, I shouldn't be doing that anymore, they're not able to change or control their behavior. So unfortunately those, it would continue to repeat, right? Those consequences would continue to happen until that person would hopefully maybe step back and say, I need help, right? Or friends, family members would say, we're gonna get you help, right? Oftentimes that happens a lot of times because addiction is one of those diseases that tells the person they don't have a problem, right? That they're fine, everything's great, right? So oftentimes it's friends or family members that are saying, we care about you, we love you, we're gonna get you some help because we're concerned about you.
Now, I know there's a lot of people out there watching that are maybe a little older, or they're already addicted to these products, whether it be nicotine or alcohol or other drugs like heroin, so on and so forth. With all of these, you say the signs are all the same, but the consequences. If they start noticing the consequences and they want to make that change, because we've noticed in our research, a lot of people do want to make these changes, but they don't have the support to do that.
Right.
Or a doctor that's willing to help LGBT people.
Right.
So where can they go to for help, and how do they get in contact with you?
Yeah, absolutely. They could call us at the Council on Chemical Abuse, or go to our website, cocaberks.org, or our number is 610-376-8669. We also have our sister organization, which is TASK, Treatment Access Services Center, and that's where, again, you could walk into TASK and get a drug and alcohol assessment, like right then. So they, like the professionals at TASK, will be able to tell you, if you're concerned about your drug or drinking or, whatever addiction use you're doing, they would be able to give you a free screening, a free assessment to let you know, kind of what's going on and also where you could go for help. So there's definitely resources available. It would just matter picking up the phone, going to the website, or just walking right to TASK, which is on North 6th Street in Reading, and they would be able to help you and assist you and direct you from there.
Is there a national organization that we can direct? International viewers?
Oh, yeah. I didn't realize that there was international viewers. Yeah, sure. NIDA is great, National Institute for Drug Addiction. SAMHSA is also great, especially with mental health. Because a lot of times we see addiction and mental health go hand in hand. So yes, there's definitely organizations on there. I mean, the internet has, it can be our friend in a lot of ways. That if we just, kind of Google what we're looking for, there should be resources, there that it just takes that, time to really pick up the phone and call or reach out to someone online. Oftentimes these websites have a live person available to chat with right online. Or Facebook, social media, go to those social media pages and connect that way, because there's definitely people available to help if that's what that individual is looking for. And just wanted to circle back to the stigma thing real quick, because I really think the big thing is people are afraid of being judged. And so, again, just here to say, we're not here to judge anyone. We all are struggling in one way or another with whatever might be going on. And if you're struggling with any kind of addiction or tobacco, nicotine, substance use, there's definitely help available. You don't have to struggle alone.
And you mentioned that when they start noticing these consequences, I know that the quitting process for any of these addictions can be very difficult. But you also mentioned that really just takes that first step.
Yes.
I really want to hit on that point of how easy that first step is and how much easier it can be once you get this.
Yes. And I think, just knowing that there is hope that lots of people recover from, addiction all the time. So there is, a whole group of individuals that are living, a healthy, wonderful life without drugs, without alcohol, without nicotine, without tobacco. So yeah, I think that is the hardest part, is just, kind of almost just admitting, right, that we need some help, kind of just like surrendering to this idea that, I might need some help. But once I do that, there's tons of people available to help me and guide me to what I need, to better myself.
Well, thank you so much for the wonderful conversation. I know our viewers appreciate it.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, thanks.
Hello, my name's Riley. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Health Outreach Coordinator at Bradbury-Sullivan LGBT Community Center.
So, Bradbury-Sullivan, where is that located?
We are in downtown Allentown, so that's in the Hamilton district. It's in the Lehigh Valley region, so kind of eastern Pennsylvania.
Now, you're one of the largest in the state, by far.
Yeah.
And can you tell me a little bit about the overview of what you do as an organization?
Yeah, so as an org, we do a lot of different stuff. We're trying to support our queer community in ways that are data-driven and giving our community things that we really need. So we do youth programs, we do arts and culture programs, we have community and support groups, but we also do a lot of advocacy work. So something like that is right now here at Reading Pride. This is a smoke-free, vape-free event, and that is largely in part to our work. Because we are very passionate about tobacco cessation and tobacco advocacy. Something that a lot of people don't know is that LGBT folks smoke at rates 2 to 3 times more than non-LGBT folks. So that's actually a pretty big health disparity, and that's something that we're really pushing for and trying to make the queer community live proudly and live longer.
Now, with your work, I know a lot of research is done into this, and and you work in tandem with the Pennsylvania Health Commission. Can you talk a little bit more specifically on that work?
Yeah, so every 2 years, so it's a biennial assessment that we do for the Pennsylvania LGBT Health Needs Assessment is the full name of that, and we just ran our last one in 2020. And that gives a very comprehensive view of what our health needs are. That is mental health, emotional health, social health, and what really is going on in our community. So that's how we assess things like the current smoking rate of LGBT folks in Pennsylvania. And that's really how we are assessing a lot of our programs and figuring out what our community actually needs.
Now, with it, I actually noticed that you have a lot of programs. I always see on the Facebook page, you have a lot of programs at night for counseling and for community groups. There's a lot of parents out there that don't know where to get these resources and don't know where to network with other parents to learn more about the community and help their children. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, so we actually have 2 groups right now that are working specifically for parents and caregivers of people in the queer community. So one of them is our Parents of Trans Kids group. Right now that's running entirely virtually, but stay tuned on our social media for when that does move back in person. And the other group is our Pride Advocacy Collective for Tweens, or the PACT group, PACT. And that is running for any caregivers of specifically preteen age, so it's roughly 8 to 13, and any preteen who is queer, LGBTQ+, in any ways, not necessarily trans or non-binary specific. And that's more of an educational group, where the Parents of Trans Kids group is more of a community focus.
Now, your Pride, it had just happened a week ago.
Yeah.
If people want to come to a Pride that is smoke-free, can you talk more about your Pride event?
Yeah, our Pride was a booming success. It was amazing in all fronts, and so is this one. I will say, though, that we had better weather. So our Pride is smoke-free. A lot of Prides in Pennsylvania and in the region are also smoke-free, largely due to our advocacy work and our sponsors and things like that do make those requirements. And again, that's in our efforts to help the region, help queer people live proudly, live longer.
Now, can you talk about what you have coming up? You want to, like, events or something like that, or next year's Pride event? Has that been announced yet?
Oh gosh, next year's Pride. Oh, that is not something that we have touched on yet. I have been still resting, my feet are still bruised, but we are going to be releasing that eventually. Stay tuned. But in terms of what's coming up, we do have some in-person events, like we have this here. I'm not sure, the rain is probably a little wet. So our Work It Wednesday events, this is one of our only in-person events right now. And we have one in September, and we'll have another one in October. And that's going to have some local drag queens. So you'll also get some drink and food deals at the places where those are hosted. And like I said, we have one in September, and then we have another one in October before that series is going to end for this summer.
And can you talk about the TRU, the Tobacco Resistance Unit?
Yeah, so the Tobacco Resistance Unit is TRU, is what we call it, because it's TRU. And that's something for middle school to high school age teenagers who would like to join the fight for tobacco resistance. And there's a lot of ways that folks can get involved in our fight for tobacco cessation. And you can definitely reach out to us and become a part of that.
Now, if people want to get more involved with Bradbury-Sullivan and everything that you do, including being part of your surveys in the future, how do they do that?
The best way is to follow our social media and join our email lists. We send weekly emails and additional emails when certain things happen. So maybe there's a local policy or law that we are really trying to push for, so you might get an extra email so that you can really become a part of the community and help out wherever it's needed. So the best way to join our email list is to first follow us on social media or go to our website. We have social media platforms on pretty much everything. So that's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We just got a Snapchat. So follow us anywhere and everywhere, and that'll really be the starting point to getting involved with us and learning more about what our programs are.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you too.
My name is Heather Kramer-Almquist. I'm a licensed professional counselor and I am the executive director of Sanctuary Counseling.
I'm Emily Bensinger. I am one of the therapists at Sanctuary. I'm also an art therapist as well as a traditional therapist.
Well, now, a lot of LGBTQ people deal with depression and suicide rates and stuff like that. We know that those rates are higher than non-LGBT people.
Yes.
So what are some ways that we can combat that, and some ways that we can?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, in my experience, and this is true for everyone who's in that deep, dark place of despair where I just rather not be here anymore. I don't think that there's any reason to go on. I can't picture myself going on. In most cases, there's such a huge element of I feel so utterly alone and without hope and without connection to other human beings. That I think is one of the biggest common denominators when someone reaches that point of such deep despair that they're willing to end everything. And so, you know, it's not a matter of, oh, you should try this kind of therapy or that kind of therapy. From my perspective, and I've been doing this a long time, been doing this for over 15 years, really the most important thing that we can do is to, on an everyday basis, let people know that they are seen, that they matter, that they are loved, they are wanted, because it's the disenfranchisement, right? It's the stress of being othered that is one of the things that's so hard for everyone to combat, but especially when we're working with the LGBT community. That sense of otherness is so isolating. So, yeah. So doing whatever we can as communities, as professionals, to let people know that, like, we see you and we love you. You're wanted.
I just wanted to start off with that because that's the most important thing, I think.
Yeah.
But can you tell me more about your organization? When did you start, and what kind of work do you do?
Yeah, so we started in 2007. We have offices right now in Berks County, Douglasville, in Montgomery County, in Audubon, and we just signed a lease for Trexlertown in Lehigh. And about a third of our clients, sometimes more, a third to half of our clients, by intention, by design, are from the LGBTQ community, and that is intentional. We are just affirming. We have expertise. Like, this is something that we are passionate about, and we get lots of education about. So I've lectured internationally even on some of these topics about queer youth and their needs. Even like very young children, some of those are the topics, but we help everybody. We help everybody, even the plain old straight people. We help everybody. But whether it's something like depression and anxiety and suicidality or self-harm or things, but also personality disorders and some of the really big, some of the bigger lifelong needs to be managed kinds of conditions. And we use what's really cool is we use a variety of ways of doing therapy. So like we're very different. So when you come to our offices, they're in a big giant farmhouse that's been converted to look like a house that has way too many bedrooms, I guess. I don't know. And those are all office spaces. And we have cats, big orange cats that will like sit on your lap and come in, like help yourself to whatever's in the kitchen. And we have a walking labyrinth in the back and a community garden and an art studio. Do you want to say a little bit something about why we use different kinds of therapies that aren't just talking?
Yeah. I mean, having other outlets to express yourself in ways can be so helpful when sometimes words are just not enough, or maybe you don't have the words for it, and just having those outlets to really be able to process things and experience your feelings and thoughts can be so helpful and insightful. And can just bring out so much, be such a release for a lot of people.
Now, for a lot of people, the sheer cost of counseling becomes the number one reason why we see LGBT people, or people in general, don't go for counseling when they desperately need it. So, I mean, I don't know exactly what you charge,
Yeah, no, absolutely. So one of the things that accessibility is a huge concern, right? If you're from any kind of disenfranchised population, you're going to be under-resourced, and there's going to be challenges to finding the things that you need to keep yourself well. For our organization, we do have a sliding scale for people. We do some pro bono work for people. At any given time, every single one of our therapists has at least one pro bono client. And frequently, not surprisingly, those pro bono slots go to trans youth, because they're the ones who seem to have the most difficult time getting even their parents to buy into stuff. But yeah, we again recognizing that this is our area of commitment and passion. We are super committed to making sure that people get to the right people, if they're us or someone else, but we want to make sure people go to experts, and that money's not the thing that keeps them from them. That's not good.
And one of the most important things we see is that a lot of youth aren't in a situation where they can go to a counseling center nor afford it, I guess you could say. But with that, how do we reach out to that group and let them know that their lives matter? Like, what's the most important thing that they can do as youth to overcome that depression, even if they're in the closet?
Find each other. Find your community. Find your people. They're there. When you're younger, it can feel sort of like, I don't want to put myself out there first, right? But I'm not. It's the young person who's trying to sort through this is already looking for their people, right? Find your people. There are usually things maybe at your school or in your community that are specifically designed for you, and most of them are very sensitive about not sharing that with your families, so you can go there confidentially and still, again, find your people. Going back to that original question about how do we prevent people feeling that sense of suicidal despair, and it's the I'm gonna cry. It's the loneliness, and if people feel like they have people, it makes all the difference. I'm not saying it guarantees a perfect, I'm fine now, but it's night and day compared to when you feel like you're all alone in it. I would also point out that in the state of Pennsylvania, if you are 14 years old, you do not need your parents' permission for any of this. You can go see a counselor, and especially if they're willing to see you pro bono or $5, whatever you got in your pocket, you do not need your parents' knowledge or consent in the state of Pennsylvania. So as long as you're at least that old, you're covered. There's somebody who will help you.
And I imagine that was a big part of why you started this program and your company is just to reach out. I know how difficult that work is. Can you talk about what keeps you motivated to keep going, and how hard is that to hear these stories day in and day out? I know there's a lot of people out there who want to be counselors or want to counsel people in our comment section, but they don't know how to deal with it. How do you guys deal with it?
Do you want to answer that question first?
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's definitely hard work, but I think it can also be really rewarding, and to be a part of someone's life and to just be a small, piece of making someone feel safe and heard and loved, and and just kind of, I guess, filling my own cup, doing what self-care is so important, as an art therapist, I make a lot of my own art in my own time, and I spend a lot of time with my loved ones, and do a lot of my own work so I can be there for my clients.
So I supervise a lot of therapists, new therapists and interns and things, and I hear that question a lot, right? How do you do this without, becoming overwhelmed by the stories that you hear? The first I would say to somebody who is interested, go to therapy, because it's really important to know, anytime you go into the room or hear someone's story, what's my stuff, what's your stuff, and I better not kind of go in there and start trying to help you if I haven't, what is it, I have to fix my own mask before my neighbors or whatever, the same idea. When you pick a program for school, pick a program that really puts you through your paces so that you understand, again, that piece of what's your stuff that you're bringing into the room. I know that made a tremendous difference in my training. That prevents a lot of burnout because then when we know that what's going on in the room is not mine but yours, now it's just a sacred story and a sacred space that I can hold for you. And does it sit heavy in the heart sometimes? Yes, but then I think, maybe speaking personally, I just feel like you find somehow that you can do this, and when you realize that you can, you feel compelled to. Like, if I can, then I should. And it's not anywhere near as scary as you think. I promise.
Now, with your organization, how do people get in contact with you? Do you offer online counseling as well as in person?
Yes, we do. So our website is sanctuarycounseling, all one word, .com. You can reach us through there. We have a little web form. You can call us. The phone number's there too. Right now, it's what month are we going into? September, end of August. Yes, we are still primarily telesession. We are limitedly seeing, kind of gradually bringing people back in to the office, but we take that kind of week by week, keeping up with the science. Everyone here works here is vaccinated, and visitors go through all kinds of protocols, but we did telesession even before the pandemic for different reasons, because we're so niched. Sometimes a trans person lived really far away and didn't have access. So we were doing telesessions before any kind of medical necessity for it. And we will continue to do so for people who like to do that. So we are open until, we take our last session at 8 o'clock at night, because we recognize that most of our clients are, in school or working or whatever. So we even do, back in the fall, we're going to start doing some Saturdays. So yeah, accessibility, huge priority.
If someone is looking for counseling, and maybe they're not in Pennsylvania, are you licensed to do counseling around the country or around the world?
Great question. I'm actually pursuing dual licensure in a couple of other states, specifically looking at Florida and Colorado and Delaware and New Jersey. To start with, and one of our therapists is dual licensed in Pennsylvania and Tennessee. That's where she relocated to. So yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for all you do and for the amazing conversation. I learned a lot.
Thank you.
I know already.
Well, my name is Amanda Funk, and we are the Widoktadwen Center for Native Knowledge. We're a new nonprofit in Berks County that's dedicated to promoting the visibility of Native people here. We have found that in this area we don't see expressions of Native groups or culture or language. I think it's amazing just in itself that our name, Widoktadwen, that's a Potawatomi word, it means community, and that's really what we wanted to highlight in our work, to create more of a community of Native people, and then also to help the broader community kind of understand who Native people are and what our cultures are like and what our challenges are, and then what are some of the great things that are happening right now in Indian country. And so what we have found in this area, in Reading in particular, the 2010 census had shown that there were almost 2,000 Native Americans living in the city of Reading alone. And that number is, of course, a bit higher than when you expand to the county, but you'll find the highest numbers are concentrated in the city. And so we know those numbers are much higher now, and we've seen some of the new reports on the 2020 census data coming out and showing us just how much Native populations are increasing. So people who identify as Native American, Alaska Native, Pacific Islanders, Native Hawaiians. I mean, there are so many different Native groups and lots of different tribes in this area too. So today at this event, we have met Cherokee, Choctaw, Blackfeet, Lenape, Navajo, and Lakota. And I'm Potawatomi. So me and my family are members of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. We live here in Berks County. I grew up here in Berks County, and so there was no real representation of Native people in this area. But luckily, our family was very connected to the tribe, and my father really made sure that we knew where we came from, that we were connected to our tribe, and that we were constantly a part of different tribal events. So there used to be a time where our chairman would travel around the country to visit with Citizen Potawatomi in different areas. Now we have legislators that represent different districts representing Citizen Potawatomi across the United States, who then can bring our issues to our executive branch. And now we're finding that a lot of people who are in this area, who are Indigenous, who identify as Indigenous, are sharing this story of, I know I'm Indigenous, I live in this area, but I feel invisible. I'm not seen as an Indigenous person. I'm not connected to an Indigenous community. I'm not connected to a cultural community. And so it ends up creating these really negative mental health outcomes and, just terrible health outcomes in general, because we can see the impact of just everything that's happened in our history on Native people. So from, issues with diabetes and alcoholism resulting from being forced from their land, relocated to reservations, being forced to eat commodity food that the U.S. government gave them. If certain Native families decided that they didn't want to send their children to the boarding schools to be assimilated, the Indian agent would cut off their supplies to their families so that they wouldn't get food. And so there were all of these harmful things that were happening in this country that have created all of these negative health outcomes for Native people. And so particularly, we're focusing on Native youth and wanting to make sure that our youth grow up with a strong sense of Native identity, and that we're kind of rejecting a lot of those colonial ideas about what's the right way to live and what kind of a person you want to be. And also highlighting today the Two-Spirit Indigenous community, which is the Native version of the LGBT community, of course tying in Native values. Different tribes have different expressions of gender and sexuality. They're going to be different. And then you'll find some tribes have been very heavily colonized in the sense of what they believe about sex and gender. And unfortunately, that's led to same-sex marriages being outlawed, rejection of transgender people, and those are all the effects of colonization. That's not what our Indigenous cultures were like. And Two-Spirit people were often revered, seen as having more of a spiritual connection to the world and to the community, and they were held in high esteem because that was something fantastic to be, to have two spirits, to be something that encapsulates so much more than just one sense of your identity. And so it provides that kind of richness of that LGBT Indigenous identity. And so we have a couple of Native people who have shown up in history that have advocated for Two-Spirit people. One of the people that I've highlighted here is Wewa, who is Zuni Pueblo. And in the 1800s, she was advocating and teaching people about Two-Spirit Native people. That term wasn't being used yet. But this different expression of what it means to be Native, what Native people look like, and what our cultures are expressed as. And so that's going to be different for all of us. But we are very focused on making sure that we're doing our best to combat the invisibility of Native people, because that's really our greatest threat. When people don't see you as a real people, they don't see the issues that matter to your communities, they don't see the historical impacts on your people and why that's led to a loss of culture and language. And I think that it's pretty amazing just that I'm here today telling you all about this, because this wasn't supposed to happen. You know, we were supposed to be assimilated. You weren't supposed to know about Native cultures. You weren't supposed to use the language. And so it's very much a statement of, we're here, we want to be seen and recognized, and we want to come together as a community to learn more about who we are and what we can do collectively together to impact our community here. I really think that when our community starts to embody some Native values, that we're going to see some big social changes and shifts in attitudes of acceptance and the respect that we show for other people, for our environment, all of it. And so I'm hopeful that through our work that we can bring about that kind of change in our community and that change for Native people.
Now, I know for the LGBT community, with all of my research over the years with the show, it's like we just want to be seen as well. We want to be heard in our government. And with your work, you said, and I want to circle back to that, of you just want to be seen and heard for the Native Americans. And with it, it's so weird to hear how so many minorities have this same voice of, I just want to be heard. How do you think we go about that as a combined effort? Because if I'm being honest, I haven't heard too much of the Native American tribes merging with LGBT rights organizations to do that, compared to Black and Hispanic groups doing the same thing. So how do we merge that effort, and how do we go about it in your opinion?
Well, I think that it's going to take a lot of connecting with people out in the community. That's how we're meeting Native people and Two-Spirit people. Is, you know, they're just people that you meet from getting out and talking back and forth with people and learning more about them. But I think that what's going to be key in like kind of bringing these communities together is, well, I mean, we do have to make sure that we are, well, at common events like this. We're here at Pride, and so we're showing that we're here. I'm showing you about our Native American history and culture, and about Two-Spirit people, and we see lots of other education going on here surrounding gender and sexuality. And by having, I think, joint events like this, and because those events get a lot of visibility, right? And you get a lot of people who will come out and pay attention, and who are, you know, they're curious. They want to see what's here. And I really think that that's going to be kind of what we need to do in order to intentionally bring those groups together, and to also make it known that we're doing that. Like if, for example, you know, sometime in the future, if there's a specific call for, we're calling on Two-Spirit Native American people in the Berks County area to join us for a meal or something like that. But it's really marketing is what it's going to come down to, and working with other organizations as well.
Now, you have a lot of books here to learn more, but if someone's out there and they're wondering more about the indigenous tribes and more about Two-Spirit, and how they get that voice out there and to, as you said, be heard, how do they get that information and reliable sources on it?
Well, this is going to be like, this isn't a reliable source, but it is. I find a lot of really great accounts on YouTube. I was watching so many videos of Two-Spirit people who they all have their own stories. Everybody has a different story. There's not one like universal perspective or experience. And so that, I think, is, if you can even just, you know, search on YouTube like Two-Spirit and see what comes up. And you can hear from different Two-Spirit people. You can hear different people try to define what that means. And then I also think that there are some foundational texts that are really great, like this one, An Indigenous People's History of the United States. That's a really, really fabulous resource to let us know about what the Indigenous perspective is on American history, because it's the stuff that hasn't been taught, the things that we don't know. And I believe they even have one that's like an LGBT people's history of the United States. I mean, when you think of these different groups and those perspectives and what's happened in our histories, there's a lot that's really not pointed out, but then there's a lot that we actually do share, that I think when we realize those things and that common, my gosh, the common struggle of oppression and the suppression of your culture and expression of your identity and things like that. I think that those are some common experiences that a lot of us have who are feeling like we're invisible. And other books that I have here are from the Smithsonian Museum of the American Indian. I have this one, The Native Universe, Indivisible. This is about African Native American lives in the Americas. A lot of people don't consider African Americans as Native people, but a lot of them intermarried into tribes, we're adopted into tribes, and that's part of, again, what makes up Native culture. It's so diverse. And then I have a book here about Anishinaabe artists of the Great Lakes. I actually saw this exhibit at the Smithsonian Museum in New York City a few years ago. It was a really great installation to show the scope of traditional work up to more contemporary interpretive works. And so it really just kind of shows us the wide spectrum that there is in terms of Native cultures and how people identify themselves and where we all come from. And this is a great book too, The Sovereign Erotics, a collection of two-spirit literature. This is a collection of poetry and short stories that really capture that experience of what it's like to be a two-spirit person. And so I would recommend that to anyone who would also like to maybe get an inside experience, like an inside look at what it means, what it looks like to different people. And also, like with the different YouTube videos, everybody has their own story, and they're all really moving stories and all worth hearing.
Now, if you had to estimate, how many people do you see in these tribes that are LGBT? Is it much different than the numbers of everyday other Americans, or is it pretty much the same?
I would think it's probably about the same. And I know, so one of my children is Two-Spirit. They're not here right now because they're at a theater audition today. But that's something that I think we're trying to understand in the context of that Native identity as well, to identify as a two-spirit person in a place where Native people aren't seen, and in a place where the LGBT community is not always welcomed. And so you do have a lot of those, I mean, a lot of similar attitudes toward those different minority groups as well.
So even nowadays, you're not calling it for tribes, LGBT, you're more calling it still two-spirit.
Yeah, they're calling it two-spirit because it encapsulates more of the Native experience. It's just a complex kind of, perspective and a worldview and a sense of how you're connected to community, and all of those things impact your identity as well. And so you may find that two-spirit people will have some things that are different about them culturally because they are significant to them culturally and central to their worldview. But I don't know what to say about that.
But if someone wants to get involved in this work and hearing stories and stuff like that, how do they get in contact with your organization?
Yeah, so you can find us online at Widoktadwen.org. And we have a lot of great resources on there. We've got research that's available. You can also link to our social media from there and see what we share in the news and any news about different events that we'll be at, because we love to meet people out in the community too. So if you know we're going to be out in the community, come out and visit us, because we want to meet people. We want to grow this community. We want to learn more people's stories, because we are all so different. There is no universal perspective on these things. But I do think that's the first place to start. Visit our website. You can find all of the information to contact us. You can look up whose land you live on. We have a link to do that. You can read all about the 7 grandfather teachings that ground our philosophy and frame our worldview. I can tell you just a little bit about that they are values that are central to our culture. And let me see if I can get all 7. It's love, wisdom, courage, respect, truth, humility, and memory. But they're all just a sense of how you live and how to live a good life, called good life. That's what we're all trying to figure out how to do. That's why we have these teachings to guide us. That's why we have a community to guide us, so that we learn how to live in right relationship with the world and the people that surround us.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Hi everybody, my name is Mickey and I am a reproductive health educator for Maternal and Family Health Services. We're here today at Reading Pride to make sure folks are aware of our services. The best way that you can find out about what we offer would be to hit up our website. That is mfhs.org, so just like Maternal and Family Health Services.org. We also have some teen services, namely our Safe Teens website, so you can catch us there at safeteens.org. And we have a Safe Teens text line called Safe Teens Answers. So this is a way that young people can get information from trained health educators. All they have to do is text the word SAFE to the number 57890, and they'll be put in touch with a trained health educator. I hope you all are having a great day at Pride, and check us out. Have a good one.
I'm Liz Balcom. I use she, her pronouns, and we're here representing the local Philadelphia chapter of the Human Rights Campaign, also known as HRC.
I'm Tom Rogers. I use he, his pronouns.
And what is your organization?
So HRC is the nation's largest LGBTQ plus rights advocacy organization. So we have two branches to our organization. So we do a lot of work to elect equality-minded candidates to office. So that means, trying to elect people who are going to have policies and fight for legislation that is supportive of the LGBTQ plus community, and also doing things like trying to pass the Equality Act right now, which would be a nationwide legislation that will create federal protections for the queer community. So we do that kind of work on the policy side and advocacy side. We also have a foundation branch of the organization that does things like we run a welcoming schools program, so we help train teachers to create safe and welcoming, inclusive classroom spaces for their students. We organize a program called our Corporate Equality Index that also helps evaluate major corporations across the country to help people understand if the policies in those large corporations are supportive of their LGBTQ plus staff members, so that you know if you're spending money or engaged in business with one of those large corporations, you understand how supportive they are of our community.
Now, if you're one of the corporations, how do you get in contact with HRC to know and to become a part of that program?
So you can reach out to one of our staff partners who works on the Corporate Equality Index, and it's essentially a survey that a corporation would fill out where you're scored based on your inclusivity in terms of healthcare, corporate culture, and things like that.
And if someone is a young person out there that doesn't really know how to get involved with the LGBT and get advocacy and these laws passed, how do they go about doing that?
That's a great question. So we really encourage young folks today to reach out to HRC directly through our website, which is hrc.org. And on that website, there's tons of resources about the work that we do. There are also many ways that you can join and say that you want to be a volunteer with the organization. And that's doing things like being at a Pride booth like we are today, to phone banking, to encourage people to show out and vote for these equality-minded candidates, working within their local communities, also to engage other partner organizations in the work that we all do. So please visit that website, hrc.org.
Now, one of the things that we talk about all the time is like trans rights and also the Equality Act. So can you speak on more on those two items? What you do?
Sure, yeah. So the Equality Act now, we're so pleased that it is fully inclusive of the trans community in that legislation. That is incredibly important to us. HRC has done a lot of work to try to advance support of the trans community. We also, on our foundation side, have a new, relatively new program called our Trans Justice Initiative that is doing a lot of work to uplift advocates in the trans community who are already doing leadership and organizing within the trans community, and really highlighting those people, training, providing additional resources to help uplift those leaders.
Now, with your I see a lot of different things here in front of us. I'll shot them in a second. But if someone's not at Pride, what are some of the takeaways you want people to know about your organization?
Our main focus right now is making sure that we get the Equality Act passed, which would create protections federally for at least housing, job discrimination, and a number of other things. Healthcare, which currently some states provide, some states don't. So that, I think, is probably the biggest takeaway about the work that we do, is that that's been something we've been working on for a very long time, and we'll work until it's passed.
Are you guys also working on conversion therapy ban and LGBT education in schools?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically, largely, through our foundation programs there. Yeah. And the other major takeaway I would say is that HRC we do all of this work as we're a membership-based organization, and memberships to support the work start at just $5. So that's why you see all this fun, bright-colored swag today, is us asking people to make a donation and buy a fun little tote bag and things like that to fund the work, the really important work that's going to create change for us.
Awesome. And you said to get in contact with the organization, hrc.org. Any other ways you can get in contact with the Philadelphia branch specifically?
That is, oh my gosh, what's our Gmail address? Philly Region, so it's Philly Region HRC at gmail.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you very much.
It's my pleasure to introduce to you an LGBT advocate and supporter here at Reading. Please give it up for your Lieutenant Governor, Mr. John Fetterman.
You probably realized that I wasn't able to get an umbrella. But it's just such a pleasure and honor to be here. When Giselle, everyone's favorite Giselle, let's be honest. When we were here in 2019, it was 95 degrees and blazing sun, so it's a little different. But the cause and the reason why we're here is exactly the same. And that is just the basic, fundamental American value of equal protection under the law. And we don't have that yet here in Pennsylvania. And Governor Wolf and I will never stop pushing so long as we're in office for that. I'm proud to say that I was the only elected official in Pennsylvania willing to solemnize a gay marriage in 2013 when it was illegal, and I was threatened with arrest by Governor Corbett. There were 2 dozen ceremonies before the courts finally came in and shut everything down out of Montgomery County that was issuing the licenses, and every single one of those marriages was legal and legit when we finally embraced marriage equality in this country, where it should always been from the get-go. I will never understand why anyone else practices otherism or wants to make anyone feel like they aren't part of the big picture. Why? You know, if your political capital goes up by being cruel to the trans community, you know, I'm not your candidate, you know? If your political capital goes up by denying folks their basic fundamental civil rights that everyone else enjoys, then I'm not your candidate. But I'm just so disappointed in our Commonwealth. We had the opportunity earlier this year to add the language that we all deserve in our Constitution, guaranteeing equal protection under the law, and that every single Republican voted against it. It was unanimous. But what they did do was pass a law that prevented me from flying pride flags from my office balcony in Harrisburg. They literally passed the law. So I am ashamed at the way our state continues to deny these communities equal protection under the law. I will always be an unflinching ally to the great cause, and I just want to thank you, and what a great honor it is to be here again, and we'll keep coming back again and again and again. So thank you so much for having me.
Okay, wait, don't leave. Don't leave. All right, wait, let me see. I'm about 5, 2. Okay, you want to fight? WWE, what happened? Give it up! Give it up for Mr. Fetterman. Thank you so much. He got soaked. He's like, who cares? Get me some soap. love you. Thank you. Thank you. My dress is soaked. Ay, Dios mío. Boricua Latino. Yeah. Represent, represent. Hey, I like that. You know I'm gonna do my Spanish, right? I hope you're ready. That's what I'm saying. My papers are soaked. I can still read. Okay. Everybody okay? Everybody chilling? Yeah, we're just hanging out. We're just hanging out in the rain. All right. You guys are ready to start the show? Here we go. We have the Doggy Drag Show, ARL and Humane, PA. Where are the representatives? We have the Doggy Drag Show coming up right here. But first, let me thank our sponsors once again. Once again, we want to thank Fresh Energy Foundation. Give them a big hand. Tito's Handmade Vodka. Give them an extra big hand. Deca Foster Care and Adoption Services. The Gables at the Sterling Guest Hotel, which I am staying at. And I have to tell you, it is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen in my life. They're treating me like a queen, and I am extremely grateful. Willow Creek Brewing, Sanctuary Counseling, All Souls, Robinson Lutheran Church, Karen Treatment Center, KidsPeace, Liberty Mutual Insurance, Manpower Staffing Services, and Shady Monks. Give them all a big hand, our sponsors, for the LGBT community here at Reading. All right. Sorry. Where are my dogs? Hey, Ed, put on that song. Here we go. Hey, put those hands together. Come on, ready? Here we go. 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 All right, just line up in the back. Everybody, the rest, line up in the back. Line up in the back. I can introduce you properly, and they could model for us. Okay? Everybody ready? All right. Here we go. Are we here? Everybody's here? All right. So, first up. Aren't they cute? Too cute. Hey. Who are you? I'm Doggy. How's everybody doing? What's going on, everybody? So we're going to do this amazing Doggy Drag Show. And it's benefit for Humane Pennsylvania and ARL Animal Rescue League. Fabulous! Yes. All right, so what do you want to do, Gabby? You want to start from this side? Yeah, let's start from that side. Okay, here we go. What's your name?
This is Jelly. She's adopted from Humane Society.
Jelly and adopted. No? She's adoptable. Okay, give it up for Jelly. Guys, walk the runway. Walk the runway. Walk the runway. Guys, if you're ready to tip the doggy, we have to pack us around. Make sure that we tip the doggy. All proceeds will be benefited for the Yay! And Pennsylvania Humane. All right, fabulous. Yes. All right, who we have here? Who do we have here?
This is Nala, and she is one with the mohawk.
This is Nala. She's been adopted. Walk the runway. Look at this. Look how beautiful this is. She's so beautiful.
That's number 2.
All right. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I guess she'll make her way up to the stage. Let's keep it going. Here we go. Let's keep it going. All right, this is Reggie. Already been adopted. Walk the runway. tips. Just some tips. You know, it's really incredible that the dogs are better than me today. But that's okay. I'm going to give them their spotlight, okay? Now, what do we have here? Kiki, and this is their baby. Kiki already adopted. Walk the runway. Kiki's beautiful. Yay. Go ahead, Kiki. Fabulous. Who do you have here?
This is Rupert, and he is already adopted. I got him at the Humane League.
All right, it's been already adopted from the Humane League. Go ahead, let's rock the runway.
So what do you guys think about the doggy? They're amazing. Let's give a hooray. Hooray for the doggy.
All right. Who do we have? Anybody else?
Nope, that was our last contestant.
That was our last contestant?
Yes.
All right. Should have brought my baby. All right, so what are we doing?
So now we're going to come up. That's the winner. Winner will be number 3.
All right, doggy number 3. That's our winner right there.
So I want to say thank you to everybody I want to say thank you to all the contestants. Number 3 was the winner. All right, so let's do just one more walk over here and then we'll be it. All right, here we go. Hey. Next one, here we go. Yes, round of applause, round of applause. Thank you for all our contestants.
All right.
Do not leave the stage. Do not leave the stage.
You don't want them to leave the stage? Okay, we're going to take a picture. All right, so we can move it along with these people are ready to party. All right.
Hi everybody, I'm coming to you, well not live, but coming to you from Reading Pride. Matt is technically taking a in the bathroom. Why does this look red? I don't understand, but it does. Oh my god, my eyes, I look like a vampire. Anyway. Matt's right now. He should be out soon, hopefully. I don't know. I mean, we're just, there's a lot of performances here, including a doggy drag show. That was fun. We've been at the table, we've been answering questions and whatnot. Why does it look so terrible? What is that? Why is it red? It's very red. Did I hit a button or something? Is this on infrared or something? Infrared is off. What?
They made it back safely.
Oh, very good. That is a friend of Matt's. I'm just recording, I'm just rambling, and he's not going to know about this until later on when he's reviewing the footage and then he sees it. I basically told the camera that he's taking a in the porta potty, so he might include that in his thing. I don't think he will though. Apparently it's okay to embarrass me, but not okay to embarrass him. Yeah, oh God. Everything is very red on this thing. I don't know why. It's like tinged. Oh, that's weird. Alright, now we gotta figure out how the hell to turn this off before Matt gets back.